I had heard stories about Kulhara, the abandoned village in Rajasthan, but like most people, I didn't believe in haunted places. When I was traveling through India last summer, I couldn't resist the temptation to visit it. The village had been mysteriously abandoned overnight more than 200 years ago, and no one knew exactly why. The locals had their stories. Some whispered of a curse, while others talked about a more practical reason, like famine. But the truth was, no one could explain what happened to the hundreds of people who vanished without a trace. I arrived there just before dusk, which might have been my first mistake. The village had an eerie, quiet stillness. As I wandered through the crumbling houses, I could almost feel the presence of the people who once lived there. Some homes still had remnants of pots and broken furniture, as if their owners had left in a hurry. The walls whispered stories I couldn't understand. I wasn't alone. A small group of tourists were also there, but we kept our distance from one another, as if something was urging us to explore in silence. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the dusty streets, I found myself standing at the edge of the village, staring at a peculiar house that seemed more intact than the others. I wasn't sure why it drew me in. Maybe it was the faint sound, like murmurs that seemed to be coming from inside. I pushed open the heavy wooden door, which creaked loudly in the silence. Inside, the temperature dropped. It was suffocatingly cold, even though the desert heat was still heavy outside. The air felt thick, like the house was breathing around me. There were old, faded marks on the walls, symbols I couldn't recognize. I brushed my hand against one of the symbols, and a chill shot through me. Then I heard it, a faint, almost inaudible whisper. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't any of the other tourists outside. It was close, too close, like it was right beside me. I froze, listening, my heart pounding in my chest. "Help me!" I spun around, expecting to see someone, but there was no one there. I backed out of the room and into the hallway. That's when I noticed something strange. The hallway I had walked through moments ago seemed longer now. The door I came through was nowhere in sight. Panic set in. I tried to retrace my steps, but every turn led me deeper into the house. The corridors twisted unnaturally, the layout no longer making any sense. It was like the house had changed, trapping me inside. I began to hear footsteps, light, quick taps echoing around me. I wasn't alone. Whatever was here with me wasn't human. I started running, turning corners, opening doors, trying to find my way out. But every time I thought I had made progress, I found myself back in the same room with the strange symbols on the walls. The whispers grew louder, filling my head, their words impossible to understand. It felt like the house was alive, like it was feeding on my fear. Then out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement, a shadow, just a flicker, disappearing around a corner. Desperate, I chased it, hoping that maybe it was someone who could help me. I turned the corner, and there, standing in the dim light, was a figure. It was dressed in old, tattered clothes, something from centuries ago. Its face was obscured, but its eyes were hollow. I backed away, my body trembling. The figure slowly raised a hand, pointing to something behind me. I didn't want to turn around, but I couldn't stop myself. When I finally did, I saw it, a door hidden in the shadows. It was the same door I had entered through, but it looked different now, older, decayed. Without thinking, I ran towards it, my only thought being to escape. I burst through the door and stumbled back into the village. The cool night air hit me like a slap. I looked around and saw the other tourists, calmly walking toward their cars as if nothing had happened. I tried to explain what I'd seen, but the words wouldn't come out right. They looked at me like I was crazy. I glanced back at the house, but it looked normal again. Just another ruined building in an abandoned village. But I knew what I had experienced was real. To this day, I don't know what I saw in Kuldara, but I've never gone back. The locals say the village is cursed, that anyone who stays there too long will be lost forever. I was lucky to escape, but every night since, I hear those whispers in my dreams. The house still calls to me, and I'm terrified that one day I'll answer.